open up that Crystal Pepsi and get comfortable. This is Dope Nostalgia.
Hey everybody, welcome to Dope Nostalgia. I'm Naomi, your host. My special guest today is a member of a band called Amitri from Scotland, who had a few big hits in the 90s, and I'll tell you more about that very shortly. I also want to invite you guys to call our hotline number. It's not even really like a hotline, it's more like an old school answering machine. So the number is toll free, and it's 1-888-741-9192. Now listen, I get it. People are kind of afraid of doing stuff on the phone like they used to. Everyone's kind of more into texting now. But that is the beauty of doing the hotline. I just wanted to do something kind of throwback where you leave a message. And if you'd like, we're going to play your message on the show or answer your questions, whatever you want. Just leave us a message. And no one's been calling. And that's so sad. So I'd really love to hear from you. Just pick up the phone and give me a call, okay? 1-888-741-9192. Let me know who you want to hear on the show. Let me know what you like, what you don't like. I don't care. And also, like, any questions you want to ask, just go for it. So give us a call. And now, in the meanwhile, we're going to go and give you a little bit of information on Amitri.
Wikipedia moment.
Please bear in mind that Wikipedia is not to be taken as actual 100% fact. Any donkey could edit it at any time. If I'm reading you the artist's bio, that stuff is real truth.
Amitri are a Scottish alternative rock band formed in Glasgow in 1980. Best known for their single Nothing Ever Happens, which reached number 11 in the UK, and their 1995 single Roll to Me, which was a top 10 hit in Canada and the United States. They have released 7 studio albums, 5 of which have reached the UK top 10. And they've sold over 6 million albums worldwide. Amitri's founding member and main songwriter Justin Currie explained in 2010 that the band's name was invented to be meaningless, basically a corruption of the Greek name Dimitri. In 2018, Currie clarified that Amitri is a bastardization of the name of a film producer who appeared in the closing credits of a film he saw in 1979. Probably Dimitri something, but we couldn't remember. So eventually, through osmosis or maybe Chinese whispers, Dimitri became Amitri. Many sources have repeated a claim that the name was chosen because it is Greek for from the womb, but this is untrue. Amitri grew out of Justin Currie's Jordan Hill College school band. The band was formed with the original lineup of Currie on bass and vocals, James Scobie on guitars, Donald Bentley on guitars, and Paul Tyagi on drums. Scobie and Bentley left the band in 1982 to study at university. A new lineup came together after Currie placed an advertisement in the window of a music store. Scobie and Bentley were replaced by Ian Harvey. Now here's the thing, I don't know if I'm saying this name right. It looks like it's spelled I-A-I-N. So it's Ian, I'm not sure. Ian Harvey and Brian Tolan. From then on, Currie and Harvey have remained the only constant members of the band. In 1984, Amitri were signed by Chrysalis Records, which released their debut self-titled album in 1985. 1989 brought the album Waking Hours, and that is when our special guest today, keyboard player Andy Alston, joined the band. Throughout the 90s, the band released 3 albums: Change Everything in 1992, Twisted in 1995, and Some Other Suckers Parade in 1997. Please help me welcome to the show today the keyboard player and still current member of Scottish band Amitri. Welcome, Andy Alston, to Dope Nostalgia. Hello, Andy.
Hello there. How are you?
Oh, you can hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you good, yes. Works fine.
I love your hat, honestly. I'm in Canada.
Your hat too, yeah.
It is
Well,
it's minus 25 outside in Canada, right where I am right now. So I need a hat like yours.
I know. I think it's about -3 out there, yeah.
Where are you located nowadays?
I'm in Glasgow.
And is that where you were originally from?
Yeah. Well, kind of, yeah, close to there, yeah.
I
And
wish
then
it was I wish it was -3 here.
I wish it was -20 here. Well, I don't really.
No. Well,
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for spending some time to chat with me today. So I'll be talking a bit about like both things that happened in the 90s for you and the new
Mhm.
releases and what's coming up
Yeah.
for you musically.
Sure thing, yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned, Andy, that you're from Scotland, originally born and raised.
Yeah. Oh, yes, yes. 100%. Yeah.
Do you
Hmm.
think there's a unique quality to Scottish music that sets it apart from any other?
Yes. Well, I was talking to somebody in America about there was basically a scene called
Hmm.
Postcard Records from Scotland. And basically, my mate James, have you heard of a band called James?
Yes. The
Yeah,
song Laid, right?
yeah, they were named after James because they were roadies just a slight, 5 years after him. They were roadies for his band, and they thought he's really cool, and they became global stars. But
Ah,
just there was a band called Orange Juice. Have you heard of Orange Juice?
yes.
Yeah, they're right. There was a Postcard Records. Basically, prior to that, just everybody thought they must go to London, to England. And then Postcard Records were started by a guy called Alan Horn, right,
Mhm.
who was a kind of Andy Warhol of his time, just like not a super artist, but
Mhm.
manager of Velvet Underground kind of idea, and
Yeah.
just alternative. And he thought, I can just do it in Glasgow. It's a place. His original flat was that I've been into was about 20 minutes walk from here in the West End of Glasgow. He thought like we don't need to go to London. And then he was they signed a bunch of bands and got hits from that, and it all influenced the kind of people like Justin and Delamitri. Oh, I
Mhm.
once started a band. It really changed the music scene in Scotland. Yeah, haha. Yeah,
Wow.
and that really made the big influence, really. In a way like kind of Liverpool, you had the Beatles start a thing. I'm kind of curious about that development idea, but really in Scotland, it was Postcard Records that really kicked it off. Yeah.
So do you think like the success of Delamitri was really huge for the country as well?
Yes, it was big, but there's a kind of tiny difference. I can think at the start when I get involved in Delmetri about the independent scene and the major label kind of scene. Some bands wanted to be, or some people I knew in bands like the Bluebells and all that were determined to be signed by the independent thing and then get picked up by a major label, and then you've lost your kind of amazing credibility. Delamitri was kind of like independent at the start, and then I joined at the Waking Hours album. I was kind of working in a postgraduate in philosophy at the time, and just like I wanted to get that finished. And I didn't play in the original recording that was produced by David Kershenbaum, who produced Tracy Chapman's Fast Car.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, then Justin decided, and Justin had the kind of strength of will, really, of just going like, no, I don't like the way that's turned out. Just put it in the bin and let's do it again. And I'd kind of finished my postgraduate then and just thought, yeah, I'll play in the next one that became a hit in America.
Mhm.
Yeah, uh, and internationally. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, because you spent the majority of Delamitri's timeline in the band, but you came in right before the 90s, basically, right?
Yeah, yeah. Basically, it was kind of like I basically finished my postgraduate in 1987, but in 1989 that record came out, 88, we were recording it or something. And like Justin had the idea, super idea about let's just do it again with different producers. Yeah, not Tracy Chapman guy, who's American. I remember Justin telling me about because I was just working hard my way as a student, but he just said David Kershenbaum. He was the first guy in Britain to have a mobile phone, and
What?
then an enormous mobile phone, that kind of size.
The
And
big brick.
yeah, all he seemed to be doing was ordering pizza, at the back of the studio and not really producing.
I love
Yeah.
it.
as an executive, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the arrival of you in the group Delamatri kind of lines up right on schedule with what this podcast is about, which is mostly 90s music.
Hmm.
So what was the process like for you in the beginning, becoming a member and doing the album Waking
Well, I
Hours?
think I don't know if this is completely true. I remember I think this might be, just like there was an American girl called Barbara Shores, right? That she was basically a Postcard Records fan that came from California into Glasgow, and she was a mate of James Kirk, my mate from Orange Juice, and just James said like she changed Justin's view really. She had just had an idea that might be just as simple as this. Like Justin come around, I play a John Cougar Mellencamp record to you, of that kind of, meat and potatoes, raw, just like, oh, right. And Justin going, like, oh, I've not heard this, Barbara, just flying from America. And, at the time that it wasn't the internet and anything, just like, listen to this record, kind of changes your vision really. And, oh, you really need a kind of keyboard player that can play the organ on top or the piano or the accordion or whatever, or the synth, just a little bit of kind of icing on the cake idea. Yeah, and I just was like the guy, because, basically, Justin was the first record out with Chrysalis. It was basically, and then they they basically dropped the band, and Justin was working in a restaurant in Glasgow, in the West End, not far from here, where I was a piano player in there. I met Justin there, and he just had the idea, just working there every night. I was basically playing piano every night, and then just he thought, you're the guy for it, so you can just kind of got the ideas in your head that could be the person, for the band, yeah, and he basically had the structure of the band idea, of the four people, but we need that kind of little, extra sauce really on it of the keyboard, yeah, and I was kind of up for doing that idea, yeah.
Just adds more flavor, more layers to the songs. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's really what the Delamitri thing's about. Yeah, I think, yeah. Mhm.
Who were your musical influences as a child and into your teen
Well,
years?
I kind of started off being a jazz player, on the piano, so, uh, people like Thelonious Monk and Professor Longhair and Count Basie's one that I really love, just like, just a little minimal piano touch. I love Count Basie's playing that. I still listen to quite a lot of jazz, but really I like a lot of, just at that time, that was really the biggest influence on me. And Justin could hear, I'm not just somebody that reads music. I can just make up things in my head, when he
Yeah.
was working in the restaurant. Yeah, yeah.
Did
And
you
that's
take music school too?
I did about a year of piano lessons, but then my piano teacher just gave up. Uh, 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 and but that kind of built a foundation, in a way. And then it was a kind of I did my first degree in physics and maths, uh, but for a bit of time in about my second year, I was just really bored shitless by that. And I thought, I'd just go and practice piano all the time. And really, that's when I went hardcore into practicing the piano and learned, I can play a bunch of things in classical music. I can play a bunch of things in jazz way. I can really, and that was maybe before I met Justin. That
Yeah.
just, I've had a year's tuition that gets me in some door of piano ideas, and I'll practice all the scales now, yeah, and practice all the kind of things, yeah, and that made me quite good at it, yeah. Mhm.
How long have you been playing accordion? Because that fascinates me. I love that instrument. I think it's because my grandfather played it as when I was a child. So
Whereabouts are you from? Where are you
I'm
from?
from Western Canada. I'm in the
Right, because
city of
I think
Edmonton.
I remember being in the Midwest, just touring there with when we were doing a lot of promo stuff and everything. So polka, you're the guy,
Yeah.
in that kind of, Minneapolis kind of way about just everybody's from that family kind of idea of accordion.
Yeah.
Basically, on the first record, the Waking Hours record, it was a guy Blair Cowan actually played the accordion, and on that record, and I never played accordion, but now I play a lot of different instruments. Guitar, easy peasy. Like, easy peasy. Acoustic, yeah. I can see them all over there. Yeah, I've got a collection of them. Yeah, mouth organ, easy. Yeah, and I, the accordion and the concertina. I'm not a super accordion player because I've not really got the background in that. It was basically after that record and we started touring. You're the guy that can play the accordion. No, it's just got a piano keyboard. Yeah. And actually in a kind of touring way, and also it makes kind of sense in a rock band way that you don't need the buttons, because the bass is doing that and it's doing the cha cha or whatever, so I kind of know that world, but I basically, because I was on tour a lot, just they get kind of a wee bit, messed up if it's moved around all the time. The kind of knitting network in behind the buttons. So I got that bit taken out of the accordion because basically what you're doing is adding, melodies and chords or whatever on the right hand, in the studio and live and all that, and you don't need to do the bass idea. But I can kind of do that, but I'm not as good as proper accordion players at that because I don't really, practice that thing. But I can play the concertina and I can play other kind of accordion things. Yeah, just like I'd spend a lot of time just, trying out different instruments now. Yeah, yeah.
But it's like you said too, you don't really need those buttons if you have a full band and a bass player, and you probably don't
No,
need those buttons.
I remember even doing the last record we did, Fatal Mistakes, with the producer there. Oh, Dan, I can't remember his second name, but just he said, when I played some things in the studio, just like other accordion players he'd worked with, they're all got too many buttons. They've all got too many sounds. Oh, do you like this sound? Do you like this sound? Oh, what about this? This is sound 28. It's electronic and accordion, and with the accordion, and I've just got the idea. I know what I'm going to play. It's this sound. I know what button it's going to be, and it's just like this. Yeah, it fits in with the song in that way. It's the bass sound, and it's just like it's just a little, melodic kind of motive, really, and just I'm not asking questions to you. I just got the, and I think kind of in a way now I write a lot of music. Just I know exactly when something's just exactly right. Yeah, not that kind of nervous. The guy was used to these whatever accordion player people like saying, "Oh, do you like this sound? Or what about this sound?" They're all kind of similar. You're meant to be the bloody accordion player. I don't know what you're doing. But yeah.
That's their specialty.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any favorite gear you like to use, like your favorite keyboards? What do you take with you on tour?
Well, basically, it depends where we're touring. If we're coming to America, we basically, we did that American tour and we were in Australia and Europe and all that. If we're in the UK, we get a bigger setup, and that's got, a Leslie cabinet. Or actually, I didn't use the Leslie cabinet last time. We got all the gear kind of in storage, but Fender Rhodes suitcase I've got, which is really great, and basically it's a Korg CX3 double manual organ with a Leslie cabinet that's kind of a more transistory thing, but with a Leslie cabinet it sounds great. And a piano keyboard, it's basically an odd keyboard. And what sits on top, and basically a Nord kind of nowadays, a Nord Electro kind of thing that does kind of other sounds, as well as the piano key, the Nord Stage piano does. But kind of back in the day, Wurlitzer electric piano, yeah, I've got one of them.
Nice.
Well, yeah, and I've got a beautiful Korg Monopoly there, synthesizer, which I just love. Yeah, which just makes really weird sounds, yeah, for things I do. But I really love studio playing a grand piano and all that. Yeah, mhm.
Mm,
A proper
that's an
piano.
acoustic piano.
Yeah, yeah, mhm. Yeah,
Nope. That's what feels the best.
yeah, and also a Hammond organ, a real one that just that's it's got the waterfall keyboards. It's got a, a proper Steinway grand piano's got 100 moving parts inside every key.
Oh,
Hammond organ's constructed differently with not weighted keys, and the feel of it and the drawbars. And I found that thing the last when we were touring America in different places we had different gear. But the Nord thing, if you can actually the organ thing that I basically use for the left hand, if you can actually move the drawbars, just that, what a kind of organ. You'll just move them in real time, not with LED buttons that are
hmm
just bloody annoying. That pulling them in and out, that you react to what Justin's doing, you react to whatever's doing, that you pull that and push that back in real time. And that's what Hammond organ does, really, not something that's just through a screen kind of idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like it's more tactile and
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
more enjoyable to play.
Yeah.
Um, what was your favorite album that you released in the decade of the 90s?
Uh, I kind of like I like Twisted Things. That's great. I like Change Armor as well. I say between the two of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. In that decade of other things I played on, I think no, there's a guy that people that are really into music in a different way. Del Amitri is one thing, but I like a lot of different things. And there was a thing in the postcard scene, there was a guy called Paul Quinn, that just all the super music kind of journalists went like, wow, that's it. And Justin would say his voice is to die for. Justin's a good singer as well, but he would
hmm
know that Paul is the man, really. Uh-huh. And his record that me and James played on, that's really good in the 90s. Uh-huh. And
Hmm.
that's something kind of that's something like Del Mitre, that's fine, that's good, and it got major release, and loads of people know about it. But there's other things that just kind of fell between the cracks, really, that you
Yeah.
think that record's beautiful. Yeah, that you played on. Yeah.
When you
Uh-huh.
talk about things that fall through the cracks, like some of those, album tracks that should have been hits and such, what would be one of your favorites that you feel fell through the cracks?
Oh, and Del Mitre.
Yeah. If,
Uh,
man, I'd love
there's
to play a
many.
clip of it for you on the show.
There's so many. Right. I would say, uh, oh, right. I really can't remember them all because it's quite it's basically Justin songs and he's really good at that.
He writes
And
lyrics mostly, right?
yeah, and in a way, this kind of idea of songwriterliness, I listened to someone on Spotify. I not really, talked to Justin plenty, but I've not seen him recently. Um, but when he said really the first album that he did on Chrysalis, the band kind of made it as a committee, and he not really found out, because he was dead young, how to write a song, and it really came to Waking Hours. That was maybe about 3 years later or 4 years later or something.
hmm
I've got to write the songs, myself. That find out that you can do it. Um, yeah, and I found out I can do that now. There's some songs that old songs that we do, and I'm just like saying to Justin, just do this as piano and vocal. Just screw the band arrangement. Just do it like this way, grand piano and vocal. And there's something really minimal and pure about that. Your voice and your words are great, and sometimes they get lost in a kind of, symbols and everything. But if you just hear it that way, and people in the live thing kind of thing go like, "Wow, that's great." Uh, but certainly, Justin's way of that when we uh, we record a lot of B-sides basically for kind of CD releases, in different formats. And we were really good at that. Or, 5 songs for that. They don't come out in albums. Uh, and there's one called, I think it's called The Long Way Down.
The Lonely
I'd say,
Day?
yeah, well, it's we did it at a live show about a year ago or something like that. I might not have the title right. I mean, there's things like Spit in the Rain and all that don't get released on albums and all that, but I played that a million times. But
Mm.
sometimes you hear something that you played, uh, 35 years ago that you've not bloody listened to because you just went into a studio and did it, and you didn't really think about it.
Mhm.
It's particularly that way of production back then was really like, oh, just now we're spending ages getting the drum track right, we're spending ages getting the bass part right. Or you come in and do the keyboards, like play a few things, and then you fuck off, now it's
Yeah.
acoustic guitar time or something like that. And then it gets released in a format, and then that's basically a load of things that people get or musicians, oh, that's that thing. They don't even, but like actors don't necessarily watch the movie that they were in, or maybe have it somewhere in a cupboard or something. But then you come back to it and you go like, that is really good. Uh-huh. And
Mm.
other kind of people are, because they're kind of for fans and all that who want to collect these things, and then they're going like, well, that's really good. Uh-huh. Hmm.
That's true. Oh, the collector fans and the diehard fans, the ones that know all the tracks,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and they would know
the
more than
best.
me, you know.
Remind
Definitely.
you of songs that you forgot about.
But I just found a song on Bandcamp, the other day that I played, and those things that he played one night with this guy Paul Quinn. I'm talking about this amazing singer in the Glasgow Film Theatre, and it sounds magic. That because it's just real in the time the playing and the reacting and the liveness is great of that track. And I think a load of things I've done in Delmetry B-sides are probably just like that kind of idea. It's right. You're reacting to the thing. I'll play some accordion on this or something, or just like, but you don't really. So you sometimes get surprised when you go back to them and go like, "That's really good." Mm. Because
It's a
also
good feeling.
there's something kind of more intimate sometimes to things that aren't, really proper. This is a single kind of thing. It's all been mastered in this way. It's just like that kind of naivety and spontaneity of it that connects with it. Mhm.
Look around your world, pretty baby. Is it everything you hoped it'd be? The wrong guy, the wrong situation, the right time to roll to me. Roll to me. And look into your heart, pretty baby. Is it aching with some nameless need? Is there something wrong and you can't put your finger on it? Right then, roll to me. And I don't think I have ever seen a soul so in despair. So if you want to talk the night through, guess who will be there?
Now, did you feel the impact of the grunge era with the music that you were trying to make at that time? Did you feel a pressure from maybe the record companies or anyone else about the music you were trying to make? Because you made great pop rock songs with that sensibility.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of artists I've talked to who were in the same position as Delamitri were experiencing that pressure from the grunge era.
Yeah, I'm not really, because I'm not, I wasn't part of the record company kind of world. I was just a musician. So I don't really know, whether Justin kind of felt he's kind of like the record company or kind of saying you got to go in Nirvana kind of direction. But I would say kind of like that, being somebody else record on Twisted is kind of rocky and heavy, but in a way, I can think like that. The last record we made, "Can You Do Me Good?" I think that's called. In 2000, that was released in 2001 or two. Not the last one we did, but the one where we get dropped really. But that was a guy, Commissioner Gordon, who'd previously done Lauryn Hill, and we did it in New York and New Jersey. But at one point I heard there's no accordion in this. Like, what? Are you sure about that? Just like, if you're going the Nirvana direction, you don't have accordions, but you don't have Tell Her This, you don't have the other lovely sensitive songs.
Yeah.
But his production, the idea wasn't like, it was more from a hip hop direction. But also I remember going there when the guy that produced that had this idea with Justin, like, he was normally used to producing records and the R&B kind of whatever. Oh, I've got the bass player, I've got the drummer, I've got the keyboard player, I've got these guys in my phone book. And Justin was like, no, we're a band. We all play. We're used to that way of recording. You can't have some other guy then. Yeah. But that on that record there was no. I don't think there was any. The kind of organic structure of things meant you had a bit of kind of balladry, and it's not like Nirvana never did that at the time, but yeah, and obviously did Nirvana Unplugged and all that. But I think it just had it really kind of goes back to Waking Hours idea. A lot of it's kind of, it's kind of like 80%, rock band way and 20% acoustic way. That was pretty much a thread that runs through it.
When you were at the height of the songs like Roll, and then Always the Last to Know, and these songs became big and they hit in the States, Roll to Me and everything. Were you like, how did you do absorbing going on the TV shows? Like, I know I think you did Conan O'Brien.
Yeah,
I think you might have done Letterman.
I think there were certain ones that Amitri did that I didn't do because they got their own house band.
Like Letterman.
Yeah, I didn't. I think I stayed in New York that time, but I didn't appear in the thing. Just like they've got their way of doing it, which is a format really. But yeah, there was Conan and there was Letterman and but I don't think I appeared in those. But I played plenty of TV shows. I did the Jimmy Kimmel show last time in LA. But basically, when even in the UK, just record companies would get you TV shows, and then eventually, it's not really. You're on some kids show, and you've been out and out before, and you're not happy clappy as they expect it to be, obviously, because you're like, what the fuck are we doing this? Yeah. But you could see their agenda in it, like thinking this is an effective marketing campaign. And it's good that they did work in that way, but it's just part of what the 90s was really. That doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, by and large. Yeah, or it doesn't. It doesn't a much more. We appeared in we recommended loads of record shows, loads of TV shows, but no bands at that level would be now. They'd just be the big artists. Yeah.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hi. If you enjoy Dope Nostalgia, thank you. Consider becoming a Patreon subscriber today for as little as $1 a month. It helps keep the show on the air and rolling. So if you want to check out our Patreon, it's at patreon.com/dope nostalgia. $1 a month, and you'll be helping support one of your favorite podcasts.
Hi, we're 4 p.m., and this is Dope Nostalgia.
Want to understand the world we live in today? Just go back 30 years to the 1990s. Nearly every aspect of society underwent major changes in the 90s that are still being felt today. Some things weren't so great. Hairstyles, trash TV, and baggy pants. But you know what was great? The music, the movies, TV, and changes in technology that were nothing short of revolutionary. I'm Kathy Kinzora, and on each episode of my podcast, History of the 90s, I look back at important news events and pop culture trends from the decade. So you can not only understand what happened, but also learn how it impacts you today. Everything from the end of communism and apartheid to supermodels and Super Nintendo. If it happened in the 90s, you'll hear about it on History of the 90s.
Hi, may I take your order, please?
Big Mac, McDLT, a quarter pounder with cheese, filet of fish, a hamburger, a cheeseburger, McChicken, and McNuggets, tasty golden French fries, regular and larger size of salad, chef or garden, or chicken salad, oriental. And for breakfast, egg, big muffin, hot cakes with sausage, maybe omelette, big muffins, all three kinds of Danish hash browns, 2 and 4 dessert, hot apple pies and sundaes, 3 varieties, the saucer cone, 3 kinds of shakes and chocolate chip cookies, and a drink of Coca-Cola, Diet Coke, an orange drink, a Sprite and coffee, and hot chocolate, also apple, orange, and grapefruit juice. I love McDonald's, good and great taste, and I get this all at one place.
Now let me get this straight. You want a Big Mac, McDLT, a quarter pounder?
So you're in love with someone else, someone who burns within your soul. And it looks like I am the last to know. I hear you've never felt so alive, so much desire beyond control. And as usual, I am the last to know. The last to know how you're feeling, the last to know where you are, the last to know if you're happy now, or if he's treating you like I treated you, or if he's cruel. I'll be the last to know.
Now, how, as a band, did you deal with the Napster file sharing era back when everything changed?
Well, basically, I can see in a way, there's a thing called the 20th century, right? At the start of it, then you get people like Charlie Chaplin can sell 1 million records. Harry Lauder, a guy from Scotland, sells 1 million records. The end of the 20th century, Napster arrives, file sharing arrives. When I used to teach at university, then I remember telling people about copyright infringement, and movie houses like Star Wars were really frightened by video recorders. And in America, they went to court to stop video recorders, because they saw that as liquid death. Movie sets, they won't exist if you have video recorders, if you start something like that. And eventually the court case gets settled. You're only allowed to use a video recorder or any kind of recording device for time shifting a program. You know, because it's on that night, you're not going to be in that night. You can watch it another night. You're not allowed to have an archive. You know, it's illegal to have these things, because George Lucas was like, Jesus, this is going to kill us, you know. But you're allowed to do things for little reasons. But basically music, you know, it's really hard to sell music nowadays because people are used to not buying it. You know, if you said water costs money or something, in Scotland there's loads of water you can, but if you change things where you don't have to pay, it's hard to get the genie back in the bottle. With movies, the genie's still in the bottle, but once file sharing's around, you know, it's really, you know, I do this part-time thing in college of teaching kids the music kind of who want to be in the music industry, but there's no music industry. There is in America. There is for big acts, but for people that had record companies, for people that don't have record companies, how do you get something out? You know, it's hard to see what you produce, what format it goes in, that you could have any income from, because you know, people are used to getting it all for nothing, really, or Spotify or something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's in the last 20 years, they don't even know what it's like to go buy music as much as we did. you know?
No, not at all. When I used to buy a lot, and I've not bought music recently, but I write a lot of music. I play a lot of music, for people and all that. And I can see, we'd write a lot of songs, me and James Orange Juice, and it comes round to mine every day, and Justin sings some, and whatever sings some, but it's hard for these things to get out, people know. Yeah. And we're going on tour with Simple Minds in March. But I'll
Nice.
get Jim Kerr to sing something. I know he will. Yeah, because the song will be right for him. Yeah. Mhm.
You mentioned teaching, and I understand you have a PhD. And so how long have you been teaching as well?
About 20 years or something now. Yeah, something like that, 22 years, yeah. Mhm.
What's your PhD?
Well, it's an MSc in philosophy of science.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. I was interested in that at that point, yeah. I'm still kind of interested in that, yeah, philosophy, yeah. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, I thought about going into that world, but it's too hard. Everybody works, and I've got two kids, and my older boy just got a first in maths.
Oh,
He's
wonderful.
got brains, yeah. I know how to do that thing, yeah. But I can see, he was saying, I don't really want to just, struggle in a university for years, doing a part-time job, go into another industry where you got the qualifications for it. Where in say if you're doing philosophy or something, it's really impossible to find a position. Yeah, that you work for 10 years in. Yeah, but I did like doing that kind of research thing, philosophy. Yeah. Mhm.
I heard that the record company was going to pull a single release of a song called Medicine from the album Some Other Suckers Parade. Is it true that they pulled the release because they didn't want the song to be misconstrued that it would have been about Princess Di? Did you see that? That's like in the Wikipedia. Like did that happen?
I've certainly not heard that before. That's crazy. I know the song, but yeah, I know. I really don't know if that's. I'll ask Justin the next time I see him.
I'm curious. Yeah, that's in the Wikipedia for Delamitri. And I said,
no, I can't help you in that, but that's utterly crazy if it's true. It's a catchy song as well.
yeah, ask him. I'm curious. Now, I also read about you doing musical collaborations with prison inmates. Tell me about that.
That was interesting. I met there, basically, the prison's a kind of world like any world. There's some real assholes in it. There's a lot of accidents. There's some kind of weird murderer, evil people. But by and large, in Glasgow, there's fights happen. There's people, and people I know that worked in prison, meet somebody from the same street they're in, or something like some domestic thing, that has happened, or there's just or car accident things, or drug kind of things happened. You meet kind of interesting people who are by and large,
Sorry.
when they're in prison, reconciled, to like I did that thing, and that terrible thing happened that night, and now got to deal with it. There was certainly one guy in there, Tony. I thought his songs are amazing, and there was some guys. I'd actually recorded a song. There's a guy. There's a band called Trash Can Sinatras, who are Frank Reeder. He lives in California. He sent me a vocal, and a girl from a rave band in Australia. She did the back vocals. It sounds magic. And it was a song written by two prisoners and me. I got it just at Christmas, and it's really good now. It's just exactly right. I had to remember doing that 10 years ago. I had the thing on that computer, and I thought, like, that could be beautiful. It was written by two guys and me, and you get the right fiddle player playing in that comes in the middle, kind of like Rod Stewart did in You Wear It Well.
Yeah.
I had these ideas. It's really good now. I did a song with Justin called what's that one called? I've Been Saved by Your Presence, and that was Tony that wrote that, and that's really. I've sent it to a couple of people in America. I go like, wow, that's beautiful. It's a kind of little acoustic ballad. I've been saved by your presence. I could bathe in your essence. You don't know by now. I'm trying to show you how. Just like he's got real words. And a lot of the other prisoners were some of them were kind of like whatever. Just I'd like to write a song. I don't know how, but some people who've had a kind of music thing back before all that time, of thinking about it with all that time in your hands.
Yeah.
I remember I was working in there when because I was teaching about maths in there as well, but there was one guy in there, and I can't remember his name, but he was from Nigeria, and he'd been doing a maths PhD. But then basically he'd when he was leading a kind of tough world in Manchester Uni, then working in a restaurant, but that takes up too much time in your hands when you got to really work in a PhD world, because junior catering thing, it's all day kind of thing and late into the night. And then somebody came to him, I can drive a van up to Aberdeen. I'll give you 30 grand. That'll pay for your accommodation. He did it and got arrested. But he did ask. He did say to me, "Oh, can you find my MSc on online?" I look for it. Then all I can find is evil drug dealer. When you put somebody's name in the Aberdeen Press kind of thing, and also he did have apparently 6 grand in a Bible for marrying an Aberdeen girl. Just for maybe he needed residency things that people would help with or some. But he just said, "Oh, I want to work in this maths thing. With anybody can work on music ideas. Anybody can do nothing. Anybody can just work, play snooker nonstop." But and then I said, "I've not seen you up in this maths thing for a year or something. Like, what have you been doing? Crying? Just like my life's fucked up. I'm crying." But then what do you need for maths? I need this program. I'll bring it in. Then you'll kind of thing. You need that math scripting program. I can teach your maths. It's partial differentials and all that. That's what your PhD is all about. But you need some way of writing something. And once you've got it, you can do it. And I'll actually get this shit in for you. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting thing. All these guys together, or girls as well. There's something with talent. Something with real work.
It's such a therapeutic thing to write, to study these things. Like we even know as songwriters ourselves too. It's so much like therapy to get those feelings and thoughts out on paper, right? And I think I really think it's a wonderful thing you're doing working with them so that they have that outlet and that creativity, because they have a lot to say, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, well, certainly. The guys that were good, just were really, because also, I made up a kind of course there about kind of recording thing. Like you can see this bloody computer there. You get a free program for sequencing kind of idea. There's some rap guys or some whatever dance guys or some kind of, there's a lot of people not interested, but there's some kind of songwriter guys. Like it's basically like you got a tape recorder, which is a computer that they don't know about because they're a bit older or something like that. You can record on these things, and then I can add things to it, keyboard parts or something, and edit it, and it's different from what they would get from a guitar teacher, which is just like, oh, this is the way, some Bob Dylan song goes or something. The guy can already play guitar a million times better than the guitar teacher, because he's always been a guitar player. But recording something, that's got permanency to it. Yeah.
Now, kind of going towards what's going on now in the last couple of years here. I know after 20 years after the release of the last album, and then Fatal Mistakes just finish it in the nick of time before COVID, right? When you
Yeah,
guys
that's right.
finished recording it. And how did you deal with the whole pandemic and trying to market this album and release it?
Well, basically, basically the world shut down. Because I remember when we finished recording that. Basically, I remember being in the studio. The catering was getting worse every day. By day in the last week, there's nothing left in Waitrose. Actually, and somebody was making food. I was all like, "Oh, this is Thai, whatever. This is kind of a bit show offy," and then it's getting simpler and simpler. And then the last day when we came up on train back to Glasgow, or I came up on the train, then there was nobody on the train, I think, and you come up as isolation. You're kind of in isolation in the studio, but the first day of isolation was actually coming back. And then Justin and Ian had to mix the album with Dan, the producer, and that was all. And they're used to kind of a way of working in studios that you can't go in studios. It's all remote, and it's all kind of fast transmission lines for a big kind of mixing idea, kind of in a professional way. And then it's not the same as doing it together. What about doing this like this? But the thing kind of eventually got done, and then I think all those kind of remote things eventually. I mean, at the time, the kind of world juddered to a stop, and it did. But then eventually people work out modus vivendi, really, of you can do. And really even the kind of teaching thing, or what we're doing now, there's quite a lot you can do that you find out at the time. When I was getting recordings from people, "Oh, you're in America. Send them an email," that they didn't really think of before, or even in Glasgow. Yeah, we can't go into others' houses, or I was talking to a friend who's a producer for the Glasgow station here. Just said they used to do this thing, going round. It's a lovely girl violinist's house or something like that. You play this back violin piece. You can't go in there. Just use your iPhone to record it. And people didn't think of that really before. Your iPhone's got quite a good mic in it. You're a kind of professional person. You got something in it, and we can broadcast that on radio. You play the thing beautifully, but you can hear, just like you can hear from a phone, you can hear somebody's voice. You can hear their violin part in it. You don't need the guys with the big boom stands and all that in isolation. And really, you didn't learn about these things until that touch record. And now that kind of like, that's not a bad idea. Just use your phone. Aye.
But yeah, that's true with the pandemic and everything. Trying a lot of these new things were tried, right?
Yeah.
And we've learned there's like, I think that's how we all learned how to video conference, because not everybody could have done that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Now I heavily rely on Zoom, especially to make this show.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that everyone knows.
I've got somebody to teach physics tonight. Yeah. Yeah. On Zoom. I wouldn't have had it.
Now, before we wrap it up, I want to talk about the album that you were excited about, new CD. Now, it's under Bandcamp, Crooked Timbers. Crooked Timbers.
Well, that's the kind of collective idea. There's now, I don't know if you heard of a band called Chic. Chic?
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have. Have you heard of a band called 10cc?
Yes.
Yes, right. You've heard of a band called Chic. Have you heard of a guy called Nile Rodgers?
Nile Rodgers, yes.
He was he's the guitarist in Chic. They changed disco forever.
Okay.
Right. Just like they sold 500 million albums. 10cc sold 30 million. Both these people want to sing my songs. I want to build a collective. It's international. I don't care that much about. I play with Amitri, but there's another world with James. I do,
Yeah.
they're sending some to somebody in Algonquin, USA, right now. I have a CD. Where these people that are very successful artists who are millionaires want to sing a song. An idea goes in their head. They can't get rid of it, and they're middle-aged or elderly, but they still got to do it, and they can do it because they found out. I think people kind of found out, maybe, particularly in lockdown, they're staring at their computer. There's nothing new on it. Then an email comes through from me, and they hear a song, and they go like, "I didn't write that, but there's something good about it." That I found some random people. So basically I've got sax player from there, I've got violin player from there, I've got somebody who sells a lot of records in there, somebody from Switzerland I was emailing last night, and it's just that I think this could be a kind of group of people. And the way people listen to things now, they listen to other things that go from there to there. It's not necessarily a whole band thing. So basically, we made a record of for Creative Scotland and that's called the Broadside Ballads in Scotland, and it'll be the same in America, or in France, or in Germany. There was a thing called newspapers before that time. There was culture. There's a thing now called mobile phones that has Facebook and Twitter on it. Before print or mobile phones, people pinned up things in High Street. They were called broadside ballads.
Oh.
Right? Words that people sold maybe for a quarter of a cent or something like that. And it's a kind of commercial world. If you get it printed and you sell it, it's a little verse. People want to hear this story. Like Twitter, they want to hear a story. But back in the 19th century and 18th century, they bought these things, and there may be stories of seafaring or romance or last words from the hangman's kind of world, or disputes or something, that they wanted something. So we made up this CD of songs that come from 250 years ago.
Wow.
The same things, the girls kind of singing about somebody going away in the British Empire. Write back to me, call me again. That's the way a young girl with a mobile phone who's not had a phone message. It's exactly the same message that people have in their hearts about romance. So these things from there, all right, it's ancient. The only people that know about these things are kind of finger-in-the-ear fiddle players. They're old folk kind of people. No, reimagine it so it's disco. So it's brand, it's different in different ways. Yeah. And I think the record's really good.
Broadside ballads?
Broadside ballads. So if you go anywhere, I think, I've done an application for Edinburgh Festival for this idea. I work all the time on these things. Where I will make another one. If you go to, if you're in the kind of arts world, you could go to France or something. They've got an archive. It's got a library. If you're in America, there's a Smithsonian Institute or something will have ancient scripts that are verses that people don't really know about. In Scotland, they've got it. In National Library of Scotland, that you can find online a whole archive of them that are sorted into different categories. And if you start with an idea like this, then you can maybe, in an arts kind of funded way, go to different countries and talk to people about their local archives and show how you write a song that's built from your sources. Really, yeah. So that's the idea of the broadside ballads. They're ancient. It's basically hot off the press, the news from 1823. Yeah, which is kind of was interesting in 1823. And there's some things I'd change some things, of the words or whatever, just to make them, I change a letter down into a mobile phone.
To make it easier to read or
and
understand?
to connect with, really. But the idea, there's certain things that are maybe written in a more sexist and racist way that you think I've got to kind of make it work for people now. But basically, the basics, the ideas are basically the same kind of ideas people have now. Yeah.
What a wonderful idea.
Right. Yeah, there's a million of these things. Yeah. I
love the idea.
There's things beyond copyright.
Yeah. Well, copyright's only 100 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And these are just like, they're usable text.
What can we look forward to? So this project, what other projects are you working on right now?
Well, basically, I've got in touch with a bunch of people. In a way, we've got some American stars. And like, I want to make another record. Did that first Crooked Timbers record, but just like send it to a few people. Without a record company, it's harder. But in a way, I think kind of another record. A lot of middle-aged people make kind of middle tempo, minor songs about. No, if I do a record, it's got to have that disco thing. It can have the middle tempo guy in it, but it's got to have something that really shocks you. That might be about real dance world and just in your face.
Yeah.
Get on your feet right now. Idea that you're not really expecting. But I've got, in a way, there's nobody in Glasgow I know that can do that. But I know some girls in America who are from the disco scene.
Yes.
I've written some things like that. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just connecting with these people. Yeah. Yeah. Where it just is that you can't deny it. It's funky as hell. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that you're working in all different genres.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah. And I just hear that, I think in a way, it's just kind of, YouTube's got a great resource. I just sometimes hear some things, or, in the kind of UK, there's Radio Scotland that's just a bloody nightmare of nonsense and boringness that I never listen to. But sometimes I listen to things in foreign radio stations or in YouTube. I just go like, shit, that's gorgeous. I want to hear what's going on in it. And I'm quite good at just figuring out a chord sequence. Because I'm kind of from a jazz background, and Justin is kind of mysterious. I just can hear things and rewrite them that he can't really do. I just hear some pretty much once. I've got it. That's what's going on inside it. And then I think that's beautiful. That really is beautiful. It's kind of stopped me in the tracks. And it might be funky, but it might just be a beautiful acoustic guitar idea. And I've actually got a guy coming around tomorrow who's a beautiful guitar player, for a beautiful, sweet song. And I've got the girl in mind for that. But I've got a journalist who knows her, said, if you write the thing right, because if you do it right, if you spend all the time thinking about it and getting it right, and she hears it, she'll go, that is good. And it's just, because in a way, it's not just finding something obvious, where, because she doesn't know the song. It's going up the strange paths that you find things, kind of like the broadside ballads, idea that there's words that aren't, just from the 20th century and ideas that aren't from that, or there's songs that you don't know, or there's chord sequences that are beautiful that you don't know, that pretty much even from classical music. I love some from Schubert, something like, go, fuck, that's really good. Or
I love some of those chord progressions from even when you listen to a song, a Christmas carol that's like a hymnal, those chord progressions that don't exist in popular music,
Yeah. And I think I remember going to see Burt Bacharach, and I think I went there and was it Justin or one of the other singers I was there with, and it was an open air place in venue in Glasgow, and it was great actually. It was really great. I was just asking a couple of people, what are you listening to? You got a big band of him, and it was a couple of years ago or something, but And, you know, I wonder what people are listening to. In a way that the band aren't the real band. It's not the real John Warwick or some, but, you know, and I think I'm actually listening to chords. I'm figuring out what he's doing there, because he actually said at the time, I can really do rock and roll. You know, there's a kind of whole big financial industry there at the time that he said I tried writing some rock and roll things, and he played a couple of them, and I kind of knew what I meant. I didn't really believe it. You know, it was quite good, but not that good. You know, when there's an enormous kind of, you know, Stones and Beatles kind of, you know, band kind of world, or that I'm more from a kind of musical and film kind of background. What is the difference between rock and roll and what he's doing? It's the chord sequences, and it's the kind of funny time signature changes, and it's the way the logic of getting from A to B goes, and just you know, that, I mean, the words were by Hal David anyway, and you know, the songs were delivered by other people, but I think I mean, it's the melodies are beautiful as well, but melodies can be beautiful, but the chord sequences he uses, you know, and the timing of them, and it's kind of like when I hear something exactly right, a classical kind of idea, I go like, what the fuck's going on in that? And then I figure out, yeah.
I'm so happy to talk to you today, Andy. I really learned a lot. Thank you.
Those thoughts, yeah.
As an addendum to today's show, since this interview was conducted in mid-January and the episode is now coming out at the beginning of March, some new developments have occurred. I saw today on BBC.com that frontman Justin Currie has now revealed he has been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Since this is a rather new development, all I know for sure right now is that this diagnosis has come ahead of a major tour for the band. I just want to wish all the love and support and prayers that we can to Justin Currie and the band and his family as well right now. And sending you guys some love.
Social media, yeah, we've got it. Send us an email, dopenostalgiapodcast@gmail.com. Twitter, Nostalgia Dope. Or on Insta, dope_nostalgia.
This podcast is licensed by SOCAN because we believe that artists should be paid for their work.